They first noticed her because the children stopped laughing, because the dogs began to whine and back away, because something ancient and uncomfortable moved through the street like a bad memory no one wanted to claim. And when the woman emerged from the dust at the far end of the town road, wrapped in a torn blanket, her hair long and tangled, her face marked by hunger, weather, and old scars, the whispers came before the stones did. People leaning out of doorways and windows, muttering words they had learned from fear rather than truth. Monster, witch, savage, Apache, as if the last word explained everything they didn't want to understand. As if centuries of cruelty could be justified by a single name spoken with enough hatred. And she walked anyway, barefoot on the burning dirt, carrying nothing but a small bundle tied with twine and a dignity that refused to lie down and die even after the world had tried to beat it out of her. Her eyes lowered not in shame but in caution, because experience had taught her that meeting a crowd stare only made them crueler. And when the first stone struck her shoulder, she flinched but did not scream, because screaming never stopped them, never had, and the crowd surged with a terrible excitement, the kind that grows when people believe they are righteous. When men who would never strike a woman alone found courage in numbers, and soon stones rained down like a storm of small, hard judgments hitting her back, her arms, her legs, the blanket tearing, her bundle falling open to reveal a cracked clay doll no bigger than a hand, painted once with care, now chipped and faded. And when someone laughed at that, when someone kicked it aside and called it cursed, something broke loose inside her chest and she fell to her knees, not because she was weak, but because the weight of memory pressed down all at once, her mother's voice singing in Apache, her father teaching her how to read the sky for rain, her sister's hand slipping from hers. The day soldiers came and the stones kept coming, each one a reminder that the world she had been born into no longer wanted her alive, only erased, and it might have ended there, might have become another story no one told, another body buried without a name. If not for the sound of hooves pounding hard against the dirt, a sound sharp enough to cut through shouting, a sound that carried authority even before the man appeared, riding fast and reckless down the street, dust flying, his hat pulled low, his coat flapping open, and when he reined in hard between the woman and the crowd, his horse rearing slightly, he did not shout at first. He did not reach for his gun. He simply sat there, tall and still, and looked at them, really looked, as if seeing each person clearly and finding them wanting. And that silence unsettled them more than anger would have, because it forced them to hear themselves. And when he finally spoke, his voice was low and steady, asking who among them thought themselves brave for throwing stones at someone who couldn't fight back, asking who had decided she was a monster and by what measure. And a man near the front spat and said she didn't belong, that she frightened people, that she was Apache and half mad. And the cowboy tilted his head slightly, considering this, then dismounted slowly, deliberately, as if every movement were a choice, walked to where the woman knelt, shielding her head with her arms, and knelt too, placing himself between her and the stones. And when one more rock flew and struck his shoulder instead, he stood, eyes flashing now, and told them that if they wanted to keep throwing, they'd have to throw through him. And something about that, about a man willing to take the blows meant for someone everyone else had abandoned, broke the spell, because cruelty thrives on permission, and he had just revoked it. And one by one the stones dropped, people backing away, muttering excuses, until the street was quiet again except for the woman's ragged breathing and the horse stamping nervously. And the cowboy turned back to her, offering his hand not like a savior but like an equal, asking her name softly as if it mattered, and she hesitated, because names had been used against her before, but something in his eyes, something honest and unafraid, made her whisper it anyway, a name from her language, a name meaning still standing. And he nodded as if that made perfect sense, helped her to her feet, retrieved the little clay doll from the dirt and placed it carefully back into her hands. And when she looked up at him fully for the first time, she saw not pity but resolve, the kind that doesn't fade when the crowd disappears. And he told her she was coming with him, not as an order but as a statement of fact, because no one deserved to be hunted in the street because his home had room, because sometimes the right thing was simple even when it was dangerous. And as they rode out of town together, her clinging to the saddle, the crowd watching in uneasy silence, something shifted, not just for her but for those who witnessed it. Because stories change people, and they had just seen the beginning of one that would not let them stay the same. And as the dust swallowed them up and the street returned to its ordinary quiet, the truth lingered like an echo. Monsters are not born. They are invented, and it takes only one person brave enough to see a human being where others see a target to end the lie. And if you're listening to this story and you feel that pull in your chest, that sense that kindness still matters, that standing up still matters, then stay with this journey. Because what happens next, what happens when the cowboy takes her home, will remind you why these stories deserve to be told, and why subscribing isn't just about a channel. It's about choosing to keep stories of courage, compassion, and humanity alive in a world that desperately needs them.